In today's Leeds news, Farke accepts FA charge, Pulis calls for timekeeper, Leeds and City Council joint venture on light rail system, Stach to open contract talks, Ramazani's turnaround at Valencia, and rumour mill stories on Troy Parrott. Hi folks, welcome to the Leeds View for Friday the 6th of March with your Leeds United news. Hope your week's gone really well so far for you. We will have a watch along tomorrow over on bigup.com ahead of Leeds against Norwich. We've got plenty of news around that game today as well. Also, just to let you know, as part of the contractual sponsorship agreements, we have got a partnership with OK Jersey. You can get 8% off all of their shirts, World Cup shirts heading into a World Cup summer. You can check them out at okjersey.com and you can use that code at checkout to get 8% off. Also, we are back and all of our graphics on this channel are done by James Wallace at Studio Wallace. So if you're looking for any graphic design needs, you can check James out at studiowallace.com or on his Instagram page is at Studio Wallace. You can check all that up. James is a cracking guy and he's done all of our graphics and stuff this year. So massively appreciate the help that he's given us. Right, let's start off and get stuck into the news. Start off with Daniel Farke. And yesterday we said that Leeds United planned to appeal the red card and sanctions against Daniel Farke. Or the second part of this was Leeds could just take the hit on this one and see Daniel Farke sit out the game against Norwich tomorrow, but be back in the dugout for the game against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. And Leeds have decided to go for the latter one and have accepted the charge against Daniel Farke. An FA statement on the topic reads as follows. Daniel Farke has been sanctioned for misconduct following the Premier League fixture between Leeds United FC and Manchester City FC on Saturday, the 28th of February. It was alleged that the manager entered the field of play at full time to confront the match officials, contrary to Law 12 of the laws of the game. Daniel Farke subsequently admitted the charge against him and has accepted the standard one-game match suspension and £8,000 fine. Farke will now sit out the game against his former club Norwich in the FA Cup tomorrow, but be back in the dugout for the game against Crystal Palace. I'm looking forward to seeing the flurry of red cards that this brings to the Premier League now that managers are not allowed to go to referees after games and confront them. I think Mikel Arteta will have huge suspensions between now and the end of the season and a massive revolution when it comes to refereeing and managers' approaches to games, obviously being facetious. But Leeds look like they've taken the tactical loss on this one, taking a knee in order to make sure that Daniel Farke is in the dugout. Leeds say they weren't expecting a favourable outcome, so don't kick the can down the road and be in a situation where he misses a Premier League match, especially the way things are right now, and have been a very important time for Leeds. So there we go. Let's move on. Let's talk about Tony Pulis and the time-wasting situation that continues to dominate the headlines. The controversy around time wasting continues to be on everybody's lips after more footage has come out over the last couple of days of the Arsenal and Manchester City goalkeepers wasting time. We've seen the Arsenal goalkeeper take nearly 3 minutes to restart a game from a goal kick, and we've seen the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper completely simulate contact in order to waste time in the game against Manchester City. And Tony Pulis has had his say on this and what measures can be brought in to fix this. And he's also backed Daniel Farke on his red card against Manchester City that was given by Peter Banks. And Pulis said this on Daniel Farke. Leeds boss Daniel Farke was sent off for questioning the referee's timekeeping at the end of the Leeds 1-0 defeat to Manchester City. And I felt for him. For years and years, the managers of these so-called Premier League small clubs have had an inward belief that the top teams tend to get more decisions to go their way than they do. And I certainly did. Pulis now wants to see the introduction of a timekeeper in rugby style added to the game in order to try and stamp out the aggressive time wasting that's going on across the Premier League right now. And he said the following. I've always believed that every game should have a timekeeper working in unison with the referee and showing everyone in the stadium, including the supporters, when the clock is stopped and restarted. Rugby union uses this method and it works so well with stoppages like the types that we see in football when injured goalkeepers go down, or for substitutions, or for any other significant breaks. We can see the clock stop and start by the referee's signal, but the timekeeper is always overseeing it all. Pulis rightly points out that referees have got enough to deal with right now in football, and taking this away from them will free them up to concentrate on the game an awful lot more and will allow people to have an accurate view of the actual time of the game. I think he's probably bang on the money with this when you're talking about technology that's basic enough in activation, and you're also talking about something that's already being used in sports, so the learning curve or the pickup time on this will be incredibly low, and it would definitely stop it. If you remove the behaviour, the benefit, the behaviour goes away, then and then you see the results. So yeah, it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's egregious, I think is the word that everyone's been using about it at this point. It's shocking how much of it is going on, and seeing players, to see the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper throw himself into the back of his own net with no contact at all on him, and not even near him, in an attempt to try and waste time, was horrendous to see. But yeah, it's not going to go away anytime soon. Let's move on and talk about Elland Road, the Leeds City Council, and a possible light rail service. Leeds City Council and Leeds United are set to agree on a joint venture that would unlock £2 billion worth of investment and turn 30 acres of unused land that Leeds United own into a proposed new development. And this is what they are proposing ahead of a vote with the council. As I say, around 30 acres of what is classified as brownfield land surrounds Elland Road Stadium. And on the 11th of March this year, the council's executive will vote on whether to enter a joint venture with Leeds United and the Lowy family group to sell that land in order to regenerate the area. The land has been sitting idle and derelict for a while now, despite the fact that it's labelled as having significant potential. But it does require a formal joint venture structure and legal agreements before anything can move forward. The council must also agree that any capital that is raised from the sale in that land is reinvested back into the Elland Road project and doesn't go in to what they classify as general funds. Leeds, as we know, recently secured planning permission to expand Elland Road, and the proposed joint venture in this situation is said to have the potential to unlock about £2 billion worth of new investment through direct capital into the area, which would have huge economic benefits for the area. The total aim is to transform Elland Road into a 365-day-a-year destination, and they want to use sports as well as transport infrastructure to try and revitalise the area and bring more investment to that side of the city. Pete Lowy spoke about this on Don't Go to Bed Just Yet recently, and he said the same thing about this. He said that the motorway has cut off South Leeds to investment and cut off people from South Leeds to the city centre, and putting a light rail system in place would have a huge benefit also with just the general transportation of people from the city centre up to the ground, where there really isn't a huge amount of transport options. If you're going to increase the capacity of the stadium, it makes sense to have something else in place. And if they can add more of these, I suppose, retail units, bars, clubs, all that kind of stuff around the stadium as well, then it will increase the amount of revenue that comes into Leeds United. And in a world where PSR and SCR exist, the more money Leeds can bring in from a revenue perspective, the more it makes sense. Pete Lowy's family have got a huge amount of experience in this as part of the Westfield group. So yeah, that makes sense as well. But we'll see how it goes. Let you know how the vote goes, but we'll move on. According to Team Talk, they claim the Leeds United are ready to sit down with Anton Stach in the coming weeks to discuss a new and improved deal for the Leeds United central midfielder. Leeds are expected to offer new contracts to certain players like Anton Stach and Ethan Ampadu to try and keep any potential interested clubs' grubby little mitts off Leeds United's prize assets and tie them down to better deals to keep them at the club. Stach still has got plenty of time on his current Leeds United deal, but the Leeds still want to sit down and try and put an improved deal in place for him, just to make sure everybody involved with the situation around the player stays happy. Leeds will have to wait until their Premier League status has been confirmed before they can do any of this negotiation with these players. But should they achieve their goals, they are expected to attempt to lock down several of their key assets coming into the summer. Stach has been fantastic for Leeds this season. He's had a couple of little wobbles, but his first season in the Premier League has gone about as successful as any players has coming into the league from a different country. Who Scored have rated Anton Stach as the best summer signing of this year. It is an algorithm-based stuff, but I think we can all see with our own eyes how important he has been for Daniel Farke and for Leeds United so far this season, not just from a set-piece perspective, but from his general midfield play. And he has been probably playing slightly out of position in a more advanced role. When he did sign for Leeds, he played very much as a defensive midfielder for Hoffenheim, so he has adapted really, really well. Fingers crossed we get all these players locked down and can add some nice other players once we've got a Premier League future next season. Fingers crossed. Let's talk about Larry Ramazani. Ramazani's time at Valencia probably got off to a slow enough start, although he did get an assist in his debut. He then had to deal with injuries for quite a long period of time before he got a chance to get any kind of regular minutes under his belt. But Ramazani has 4 goals and 1 assist in his last 15 games. He only started 3 though. 3 of those starts have come in his last 3 games. He scored in 2 of them, so it's been really decent there. He also had a really odd situation to deal with after one of his players pranced or jumped or bounced into the penalty area just after as he scored his penalty for Valencia, and he was forced to retake it, but he kept the head down and scored the retake. And Carlos Corban has put a huge amount of praise on Ramazani for that and says that he shows a huge ability to handle pressurised situation and has been important to Valencia's turnaround. And on this, he said the following. Ramazani has a lot of personality because after you score that first goal and then after the feeling that you've already scored, you have to retake the penalty. You've got to be able to handle that pressure, to not let it get to you. And that's very important because you might doubt whether you can put the ball in the same place or change sides. And he handles that psychological game extraordinarily well. He's been really, really good. There was talk of Valencia potentially cancelling his loan move during the winter window. That didn't happen in the end. They did want a purchase option in his original deal and they took him from Leeds United. It remains to be seen what will happen in the summer. Valencia's league position as well as Leeds' league position will likely have a factor to play in that, but he's been really, really strong for Valencia over the last couple of games. Fingers crossed that continues to go for him, and we'll see what happens in the summer. Let's jump into some rumour mill territory, and as always, we're keeping track of all these links, and we'll see at the end of the season when the window opens, assuming we're still in the Premier League. I'm going to keep saying that until we're mathematically confirmed as being in the Premier League, and we'll see if any of these rumours actually turn out to be anything major. But we're going to label this one the Ryan Kent Memorial Rumour Mill, because this player's name is now starting to pop up as much as Ryan Kent did, and it's Troy Parrott. And all depending, as I say, on Leeds United's divisional status next season. Leeds United and West Ham United are both said to be preparing a move this summer for AZ Alkmaar and Ireland striker Troy Parrott. And this comes from Sports Boom, whose credibility in this situation is, toss a coin on it if you want to, but Parrott has 3 years left on his current AZ Alkmaar deal, and he won't come cheap for any side who wants to try and bring him into the club. A fee of anything between 20 to 30 million pound is rumoured to be needed, but he's been in really strong form this season. He's definitely having one of his best seasons of his career. He's got 13 league goals and 1 assist. He's got 25 goals in all competitions across this season. But Sports Boom say exclusively, whatever that means in their situation, that both Leeds and West Ham are preparing moves for Troy Parrott once the season ends and the summer transfer window opens. But we'll have to wait and see if there's any truth to that. He is a player who's been linked with Leeds continuously over the last 12 to 16 months. We'll see if that turns into anything formal. If Leeds can stay up, if they can get some smart free signings in, they might have more money to go after the more attack-minded players they need for more goals and more attacking play next season. We have to wait and see. There will be, as we said before, exits expecting. If a striker comes in, I think we can all agree now Joel Pirro will probably leave the club in the summer, so Leeds will want to add in that position, whether to try Parrott in that role or somebody else. We'll have to wait and see, but we'll stick him on the list, and we'll come back at the end of this season and we'll start talking about which of these publications are right and which are wrong when it comes to linking players with Leeds United. There'll be a ton of them, and we're getting into that stage now. Next month or so, it's going to start picking up again as we get close to the end of the season. Folks, that'll be it for me today. Massive thanks, as always, for supporting the channel. You can check out the podcast from this week. Myself, Jerry, and Paul had a bit of a therapy session to get over the midweek action. Spurs losing last night makes it all a bit easier for us to take today, at least. There's other clubs down there who didn't have a great week and not having a great run of things. But I will be back tomorrow over on bigup.com for the FA Cup game against Norwich and our watch along. And then afterwards on YouTube for our instant match reaction. You can check all that out over the weekend. And we probably will have a Sunday session with Alex this week. We had technical issues last week and we couldn't get it out, but we'll try and get it out this week. Outside that, have a great rest of your day. And I will talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.